Hi, my name is Dr. Sima Pendharkar, and I'm the founder and CEO of Valeet Healthcare. At Valeet Healthcare, our main mission is to take complex health data and create treatment algorithms using machine learning to really help providers as well as patients understand conditions and treatment pathways.
Welcome to Innovator Tribe Outside the Bubble,
a show about bridging the gap between the inspiration of an idea to the creation of a product.
Hey Mar, what's going on, man?
What's good, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. Life's good right now. Things are happening. The blessings are coming down. This year has just been so crazy. I mean, so much going on right now, but everything's moving in a positive and right direction. So I can't complain. How you doing, man?
Oh man, that's good to hear. Man, that just brighten up my space right now. But I'm doing good. I'm working on trying to finish up this book called Switched right now. I forget the author of the name, but yeah, it's a
that's a good one. That's definitely a book. It's a switch trying to change hard things when they're too hard to change.
Yeah.
I just actually finished a book myself. It's actually nothing to do with business or technology. Sing to Me by L.A. Reid. So it's kind of like a autobiography of this record executive who's had his hand in 30 plus years of music in hip hop and R&B. So it was a great read just because he literally has had a hand in almost the last 3 decades in bringing to the world really great music.
I mean, they say most successful people read biographies and autobiographies a lot. So I mean, I guess that's reflective of you.
I appreciate that. I don't know about all that, but
hey man, I'm giving you some, saying you're doing your thing.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. But no, that was a good book. I would definitely suggest reading it. What I'm saying? I like to read just different types of books outside of just technology and business, just because you can really learn from other people's experiences and also get some inspiration as well. And that book definitely is inspiring.
Most def. Well, we have an inspiring story for today's episode with Dr. Sima and her company, Valeet Healthcare. We have an excellent episode for people who are working within their industry and they may see an opportunity to improve something, and they know that problem can be improved through the use of technology, and you want to build that solution, but you don't have any technology experience, but you have that domain expertise to bring some insight, your expertise into that solution. And so Dr. Sima with Valeet Healthcare, that's her story in essence and how she built her startup.
Yeah, and she really is able to walk us through how she literally kind of came about. The idea was she was seeing a patient and presented a problem, and she was starting to think of solutions. And it's really the fact that she would just happen to be in San Francisco at the time that she was like, I could either leverage technology, or I could write a research paper about this. And she leaned towards trying to leverage technology to kind of address the problem that she recognized on that day.
Yeah, like we like to call that, product discovery, and just asking those probing questions until you really understand how you're building towards the customer needs is something that is one of the key steps while you're in that process of building your product and creating that product that's you've been inspired to pursue. And so from there you can just dive into like product market fit, and this all your domain expertise has helped you along the way, especially for the non-technologist who's coming at this from like that untraditional technology route.
Yeah. And Sema literally launched this about 6 months ago. She's literally secured a deal with a client literally in Australia. She's based in New York, and it's really due to her literally having, 14 years of domain experience and expertise that allow her to, essentially get from idea to a fleshed out product to actually securing a customer within, a year's time.
Yeah, and those domain expertise, like when you leverage that and you're entering into the technology space, interacting with technologists just builds you a lot more authority into having them engage with you and are attracted to your vision so that they can help contribute to the solution and help you build your product. And that was representative how she talks about stories about going to meetups and different organizations, and how even though she had encountered some resistance, she stayed persistent and allowed her domain expertise to reassure her that she was building on the right path and building towards the right solution.
Yeah. This is a great episode, and it was a pleasure talking to Sima and sharing her story. And I think we should go ahead and get into it. But before we do, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button before you listen to the rest of this podcast.
This is one simple, clear task. Just one thing. You hit that subscribe, and then you're helping us a ton, and we're gonna love you for that.
So let's go ahead and get into it, Ahmad. It was kind of funny how we connected. Essentially, kind of liked one of our tweets, I guess one of our episodes, and I just kind of following through what's going on in our social media feed. Saw that you liked it, went to your profile, and came across you and your company. And I think one of the most interesting and promising spaces within technology right now is definitely healthcare. And when I saw that you were, just newly launched your application, and it was focused on healthcare, and you are a doctor, literally a medical doctor, I just had to reach out and try to get you on.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, actually now thinking back to it, you guys had done a podcast with someone that I had just talked with, I think 2 weeks ago. He has a data analytics company based in Atlanta, and I'm blanking on his name right now.
Jeff Nelson?
Yeah, exactly.
With Sinchapi?
Yeah. So Jeff and I had talked a couple of weeks ago about kind of some of the data science aspects of our platform. And so I think maybe that's kind of how I navigated myself to your social media platform.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I was super excited when Toye Mission told me about this interview that we're having today. And I was just looking, I went to your website, and then I also just saw your LinkedIn. And so just trying to paint a picture for our listeners a little bit. You have a extensive resume. You're definitely a high achiever. I mean, you have awards from the Catalyst Consultation Award. You helped the Sunny Downstate Resident Quality Council raise $20,000 for a grant. Just an MD in public and Masters in Public Health from UNC Chapel Hill as well. Just you accomplished all that, and then on top of that, you have this great company that you're working on, Valeet Healthcare, that's doing some amazing work within health, just within health technology and the communications aspect for the patients, the providers in the healthcare system. So there's a lot of for our listeners, there's a lot of information that you can definitely learn today just from your story. And so that's what we're here today to do, just to break down that story and get some of the insights and some of the gems, as we like to call it during the show, that our listeners can take back in and apply to their entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, great. I'm so excited to be here and to share my story and anything else that might inspire budding entrepreneurs or anybody else out there who's interested in healthcare, because I think there's just so many exciting things happening in the space of healthcare and technology right now.
Definitely. So we usually like to start the episodes with the first question, and the first question is, what is your favorite go-to song, your favorite hip hop song it doesn't have to be hip hop, but what is your song that's kind of your go-to when you're getting ready for a pitch, or, you're getting ready for a presentation, that kind of gets you in the zone?
Lately, I was just in Perth in Australia, and I got to see Adele do her show live, and I really, really felt like her performance was one of those performances that just kind of moves you. And before that, I would say Beyoncé for sure. I got to see her in Brooklyn, and so I think that I love kind of that energy of being in the presence of an artist that can just kind of capture your emotions. And so I would say, again, probably Adele and Beyonce are my go-tos right now.
Before a pitch, you got like the Who Run the World's girls like playing. Like, I get it. That's cool.
Something like that, yeah.
Awesome. I just want to jump right into it with one of the things I really want to start up with is just about the story behind your company. I believe it was, and I'm hoping you can just like expound upon this, but it seems like the idea originated from you were watching a physician talk to a patient for like 30 minutes or so, and there just seemed to be a disconnect from that patient not connecting with the physician, understanding what their care, like the details to their care. And so it seemed like that was the spark for you to pursue, just go down this route of discovery of how can patients have a better way to understand the care that's being provided to them. And this is kind of where you're at today with the company, or what happened after that epiphany moment from the story that you shared and how that led to the company today.
Yeah, no, that is definitely one of the pivotal moments in my kind of career and innovation. I was on the faculty at UCSF, and it was my very first job. So it was my very first year of teaching residents. And in medicine, we have this kind of structure where as the attending physician, you're kind of the one that's in charge. You're like the leader physician, but then you have a couple of residents, a couple of interns, a couple of pharmacy students all on your team. So there could be up to like 10 people, and that group goes around and sees patients. And so, we were rounding on a patient, and I still remember him. He was a gentleman that was in his 50s, and he was hospitalized in San Francisco and basically had probably 10 different conditions. He was an HIV patient who came in with fluid on his lungs and a host of other medical problems. And so I was with my team. So, the 10 of us like step into the room together, and I let the residents, take charge because it's their opportunity to learn. And then as the attending, we give them feedback. So I let the resident just kind of do their thing. And I actually turned my timer on my phone, and I timed their conversation, and they were talking for about like 40 minutes or so. And at the end of it, I asked the patient, I said, so what's your understanding of what we're going to do for you today and your health conditions? And he just gave me this like blank stare. And I think for me, that was kind of like a defining moment of, it's like, what are we really doing here if people are not kind of connecting with their own health and what we're trying to accomplish for each of their health conditions.
Wow. So this was your first year in San Francisco, right? Is that
exactly?
And now you're in New York, right? So, obviously there's a kind of a time gap there. Was when you kind of had that moment where you're like, okay, this is a problem. Was that when you were like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to solve this problem? Or was it more of a, okay, let me create a startup? What was the next steps after that kind of led to, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a technology that's going to help address this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I did my residency at Duke in Durham, North Carolina. And I think that even from the very beginning of my training in medicine, I had always been interested in what we call quality improvements in medicine. So that's really where we look at the system and we kind of scratch our heads and think, about how things could be done better. So I had always kind of had that interest and fascination. And so I think that when I pinpointed the exact problem that was causing me to feel like the system was really broken. I initially thought that maybe it would be a research project, but being in the heart of startup life and startup world there in San Francisco, I had the opportunity to go to a lot of meetup groups and just connect with other entrepreneurs. One of my best friends in San Francisco, her name is Dr. Christine Boyle, and she's the founder of Valor Water. It's a water analytics company. I became friends with people like her who I could really have these conversations with, and kind of, they were patient enough to like hear me talk about what it was that I was trying to do. So, I really have to say, like, going from that initial spark of an idea to where I am now, I've just met so many fascinating people along the way that have nurtured kind of my interests. And I think that that's kind of what I would say has really helped me a lot.
Do most MDs have that itching to do something entrepreneurial within their career? Or I'm asking that question because it sounds like you're special in that regard. Probably already have working long hours, busy schedule, and you're still making time to go to these meetups and groups within within entrepreneurship and startup.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I guess I would say is, I would describe one of my character flaws as maybe being a little bit of a perfectionist. Like if I see something that isn't right, or, if something can be done better, then I'm the person that's going to just get stuck on that and fixate on that. And I remember my mom said that even when I was 3 or 4 years old, if I was spreading out a blanket and if it wasn't spread out perfectly, I would just do it over and over again. So I think I have a little bit of that in my personality trait where, once I see something that can be done better, I know that there's a better way to do it, and I'll just kind of be really persistent. And I think that helps a lot in entrepreneurship, because I think a lot of people, a lot of my colleagues in medicine, they care deeply about a lot of these issues, but, they may not have the energy or the bandwidth to think about it. And I think that everyone has their own kind of way of contributing to the world and their own talents. So that's kind of the way that I see it.
I just want to follow up with one point about that. What was something that your friend at Valor Water was saying to you during those early days when you were being persistent and trying to uncover this problem that you wanted to solve? What helped during that time?
So to be honest, it's I guess I'd have to say is that so Christine, when I first kind of became friends with her, she was in the very beginning stages of her company too, and just kind of seeing her go, and she was further along than I was, but just having these honest conversations about, we both have, we're struggling to solve certain problems. I was able to see her failures and her successes, and just having that kind of real time and real view insight. It shows you that, hey, even if you're not sitting there hitting all the marks and succeeding every time, you're seeing this person, make progress and bring their idea to life. And I think that's really inspiring to see someone that's, within your close circle, do those sorts of things. So I think that, again, just being around people that are positive and encouraging just makes a world of a difference, And I think with Christine, she was always open to hearing what I was doing, but I was always getting kind of, she was always cheering me on, no matter what.
I think a lot of times, especially when you're, an entrepreneur or you're trying to solve a problem and you're kind of, really figuring out the best way to create a solution around that and build a business around it, is not really having anybody to talk to about the daily struggles and the daily, setbacks that kind of occur as you're trying to figure things out. And regardless of whether or not you have family members who are cheering you on, they still never really fully get, the struggles of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Right. And I think that also there's comfort in knowing that you can just be really honest and open with someone, and they're not going to be like, oh man, here she goes complaining about something else or talking about this same thing over and over again. Because when people that really get you and they really kind of understand your passion and your vision, it's like they're there for you no matter what. And I think that, I feel lucky that I've had a few of those people in my life where I can sit there and talk about the same issue over and over again, and they get it because it's like they've been there and they've done that too.
So you're in San Francisco and you're kind of at the beginning, phases of really kind of thinking through the idea, and you have your friend who also is, thinking through a problem that she's trying to create a solution for. And I'm guessing, both of you guys are medical doctors, but you're in Silicon Valley. So, why not, start to really, leverage the community and networks that are out there as you're fleshing through your idea. And I'm guessing that was kind of maybe the next steps that kind of help you get to where you are today with Valeet Healthcare.
Yeah. So I was able to kind of really benefit from that community there. Like I said, I did go to a lot of different meetups. I made some great connections. I met like an awesome designer that I'm still collaborating with. And those things all really, really helped me, I think.
So when you got to New York City, that's when you started to at least start building up steam towards the business. What was like the most practical takeaway that you took from some insights in Silicon Valley and deposited to that Brooklyn, New York energy to build your business?
I would say, a lot of this stuff, a lot of things in my life that have happened, I would use one word to describe it, which is serendipity. It's kind of like you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and the universe is just smiling down on you, and you just have to kind of like, pray and be thankful that you're kind of given these opportunities because they don't really make sense. But the one thing that I guess I learned from Silicon Valley then applied to New York was that just getting out there, connecting with people, talking to people, not being afraid to just show your passion and put your ideas out there. I mean, I think that that's important. And, I went to plenty of meetups in San Francisco where I tried to, pitch, and I got feedback like, you're a girl, what are you trying to do? I got the negative feedback, but I think that I believed in my vision and I had enough people validate what I was doing to the point that, I self-evolved where I was kind of like, what I'm doing and the way that I want to serve society and help people through my vision that's more important to me than any of the other side notes going on. But so when I came to New York, I started going to meetups again, and I connected with the person who's really supported me wholeheartely. His name is Dr. Sanjeev Suratwala. He's an orthopedic surgeon here in the area, but our connection was very random. I had sent out an email message to a New York tech meetup listserv, and I think that whatever I said in my message about what I was doing resonated. And so ever since then, he's really championed what I'm doing. And that's just one example of how just kind of putting yourself out there is really critical, because even though, it may not come through in that moment, it's like you're putting your energy into the world and kind of making it known, what you're trying to do or what your wish is. And it's up to kind of a greater force to determine what's going to happen with that. But I think that's one thing I think that's really important.
So, one of the things that I kind of want to go back to, which is, very baffling to me, is the fact that, even as a trained medical doctor, people still doubted you just because you're a woman. Right. And, I'm curious, like, how did you, deal with that, and how did you still decide to persist?
I think that, to be honest, I've, again, I think I credit my stubbornness to some of my success. I think, again, I'm one of those people where once I see something, I see it my way, and whatever everyone else is saying, I can just tune that out. And that's probably because I've had to do that for a long time. I grew up in the South, and as an Asian person trying to kind of travel the world and do different things, I think I experienced some of those resistant kind of mindsets early on, and I think I just kind of decided that I would never let it really affect me. I mean, I think that everything in life is just a learning opportunity. So I think that even when I do meet resistance, regardless of what it's based on, I just use that as an opportunity to understand kind of myself, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. Entrepreneurs are usually the most craziest people because they see a future that doesn't currently exist, and they're trying to get other people to believe that future can exist. And those people that actually are successful are the ones who still persist, no matter what negativity they may face as they're on that journey.
Right, and I think that one other point I'd like to make is again, like growing up as a minority and as a woman and trying to get into medicine, hospital administration, entrepreneurship. I think that I've come to, again, I try to use experiences that don't align with my vision just as a growing opportunity. But I think that, more than anything else, I see myself as an individual trying to bring something good to society. And again, when I interact with people, I try to see them as individuals, because I think that especially in this day and age, making judgments based on race, skin color, gender, or anything else, it's just, personally, I think it's counterproductive and it really doesn't make sense. But that's just my personal opinion.
You hinted at it a little bit with the serendipity, because when you put out positivity, that good energy, you receive it, you reap what you sow. That's
exactly.
And so, like, that kind of leads into my next question. When you're in Brooklyn, you mentioned like one of those moments with connecting with your mentor. What other type of key moments while you were in Brooklyn where things just started seeming to connect, where you started to get momentum going with the company?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, I think in the last 6 months, we've just had a lot of really great reception. And I think that one of the other moments, which actually happened in California, but I was, based here in Brooklyn, we applied to be a part of Health 2.0's launch program. And so I got to go to Santa Clara and get up on the stage and do like a quick demo of our product. And it was pretty cool because as soon as I stepped off of the stage, I just started getting messages on LinkedIn and through my email and, people contacting me. And that just felt like great. I was just kind of like on top of the world and was like, I can't believe this, because it's like, again, I think anytime you're putting something out there in the world, like you just never know if someone's going to, start throwing tomatoes at you and like boo you off the stage. And I mean, I just was so elated because it's like, again, it really seemed to resonate with people. And immediately I started talking with people and meeting with them. And again, I feel like the more people I meet and the more I put the ideas out there, it seems like it just keeps coming back in a positive way, which is just feels really great.
Yeah, I think, one of the best feelings is when, you've been literally working on something and you're not really sure how the world is going to respond to it. And then finally, when you present it to the world and it is kind of validating, okay, I guess I wasn't crazy, right? Like this actually does make sense.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, because it's like when you're doing, when it's like 1 or 2 at night and you're sitting there kind of working on these ideas, trying to put these things together, you do think twice about whether you're crazy or not. But then again, when you see it out there in the world, helping people and other people also connecting, it gives you that I can join the rest of the world now.
Definitely can relate to that. So you mentioned Health 2.0, and I'm guessing that was a pitch competition, right?
It was.
Okay, and that was about 6 months ago, right? So, I'm guessing there's, you said immediately you got off the stage and people literally started contacting you through just various channels, email, social media. I'm pretty sure in person as well while you were there. So obviously there's definitely going to be some momentum that comes, after that. And we definitely want to get into that. But we also want to kind of dig into, okay, so prior to the pitch competition, in order to, have a demo to present, what were the steps, what were the steps that you took to, one, have a demo, and then two, even, nail down your pitch? Because I think, having a demo and having a pitch are two different things, right? The pitch is you can have a pitch without having a working demo. And if you nail the pitch, you're still good. But if you have a demo and a pitch, that's even better, right?
Right, sure. So, I think that I'll say that I started my first like slide deck of what my idea was probably, when I was in San Francisco and when I was just learning about what a pitch deck was and what an elevator pitch was. So it's kind of funny. Like I literally remember saving one version of PowerPoint as version like 120 or something like that over the last 2 years. And so I think that I'll just say that it's like practice is something that like really helps and makes a difference. And I think that with each pitch deck I make, in fact, earlier today, I just saved another version, and I haven't been doing it consecutively. Otherwise, it would probably be version like 999. But I think that as I'm able to kind of talk with prospective customers and get up there and like do the pitch and then get feedback, you can make like little modifications and kind of change the way that you're doing things, and your messaging might change. So that's one point about the actual pitch. And then in terms of the demo, I guess I've had a really great team that I've been working with. I've partnered with Blue Label Labs, and they're a firm based here in New York City, and they have a lot of expertise with building healthcare apps. So I was lucky enough to connect with them, and they really helped me get a great demo together.
How did the relationship with Blue Label Labs, how did that relationship, how was that created over time?
Yeah. So, when I was in San Francisco, I had been working with a designer there, and when I moved here, I had to kind of explore the options here. And so I literally, again, I went to like a lot of meetups and I met programmers that way. And a lot of times I just would look at kind of different review articles and stuff about these various app development shops. And when I talked with the Blue Label Lab team, it seemed like it would be a good fit because they had knowledge and expertise in healthcare.
Could you just describe like how afterwards, like when you were starting to get off the stage and you were actually starting to like responding to those feedback and the requests that you were receiving post the Health 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of, I had a couple of meetings with people, just right after I did my demo there in San Francisco, because they wanted to like hear a little more about what we were doing. But I think kind of by far one of the, this again, it might sound crazy or it might sound like serendipity. I'm not sure which one. But one of the people from the audience who emailed me was a doctor from Australia who had come to Health 2.0. He's really into technology and that sort of a thing. And so he had to take off because he was getting on a plane to go back to Australia. But so we continued to stay in touch. And now, I just went to Australia last month, and we're going to pursue a partnership there. So that's also kind of another example of just trying to kind of go with it, because, I had no way of knowing like if they really were, going to be interested and kind of pursue things. But again, the conversation and the energy seemed to be kind of going in the right direction.
That's awesome. Obviously there was a relationship that was built there and then kind of really extended out to a business opportunity. And it seemed like it was really kind of due to your persistence that you guys were able to close that deal.
Yeah. And I think that, again, one of the most important things in entrepreneurship, or really anything in life, is being able to kind of tap into your own intuition, I think, and really kind of trust your gut on how you're feeling about anything.
You do have the I'm guessing, is it technically in beta now, or is it fully launched?
So I would still call it a beta version at this point. We've worked through some of the algorithms, but we're currently kind of trying to decide on some different routes to take when it comes to data integration.
Cool. Yeah, that tees me up perfectly because I'm interested in learning how you're continuously leveraging your domain expertise within the medical space and applying that to how those insights are turned into the actual functionality for the technology. What's your process for moving back in between both of those spaces from your medical space into the technology for the app development?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, again, it's like I'm solving a problem that I face every day, in the work that I do. And so I've had the opportunity to be in that environment since I started medical school, which is in 2002. So from 2002 until now, which is like 14 years, it's like that's 14 years of literally just being immersed in the data and in the process in hospitals. And so I think that deep knowledge and expertise that I've gained, it just gives me that insight on, how things should be done better, because I've heard patients over and over. Like one day, I walked into a room a few years ago, and a patient room, and the patient said something like, I literally feel like I'm just sitting in the dark and I have no idea about what's going on with my care. And again, like those kind of things really stand out and resonate because I feel just as frustrated as the patients do, because when you're working long hours as a physician doing the best job that you can, you want your patients to succeed and you want them to have the best experience possible. And when that doesn't happen, it's really frustrating. But again, being able to take some of those frustrations and turn them into tangible solutions, I think it helps me in a lot of ways, I think, to feel like I'm actually making a change in the system.
That's dope. And, obviously, you have, over 10 years of experience working in the medical field, directly with patients and directly with doctors. And even as we kind of, did our research and looked at your team, it seemed like you have you definitely do have a very impressive board that really, obviously supports your company. Can you kind of go into how you were able to get those people on board with Valeet Healthcare?
Yeah, again, a lot of those I was able to just leverage connections through my personal network. The orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Sanjeev Suratwala, I met him at a local tech meetup event. And then another one of the members, Dr. Tiffany Leung, she's a clinical informaticist, and she's actually one of my really good friends who, again, has been extremely supportive, and I've been able to have a lot of these conversations with her about, I went in to work today and I had to just sift through all this data. This is really annoying. There's got to be a better way to do this. And because she's also a clinical informaticist, she could sit there and bounce back ideas with me and kind of validate my feelings and my complaints. And so, I think really just kind of tapping my personal network and getting out there and letting people know what I'm trying to do. And I find that oftentimes people are really, really generous. And another example of that is I went to an event 2 years ago when I first came to New York City, where I think there were just 10 to 20 different VCs, angels, and other people there, and they were giving various talks. And I met Lylan Masterman, who is a VC for White Star Capital, and he made it clear that he really wants to support more women in entrepreneurship. And so we've kind of kept in touch over the last 2 years. I'll send him updates on our progress, but he's been really generous and has opened up his network to me and has introduced me to some people. We're doing another pitch coming up soon, and he offered for us to use their boardroom to host the pitch there. So just things like that. I mean, I think when you meet people that are willing to kind of pay it forward and help other people because they've been helped in getting to where they are, I think it's a great thing. And I hope that I'm able to do that also moving forward, helping helping other people that are enthusiastic and have the passion in this space to kind of visualize their ideas, because without mentorship and without people there to kind of help you, like you can't accomplish anything.
I'm a big believer in the mentorship piece as well too. Just how I applied it with my professional development as well. But there's something key here, because you're pitching your company and sharing it. However, it's resonating with people. There's that moment where you mentioned how you see the light or the light bulb turn on when you share the pitch to people. How's what you're doing being distinguished within the competitors within the healthcare landscape today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the thing that really distinguishes Valeet Healthcare from other companies out there is that because I've, again, been entrenched and immersed in healthcare for the last 14 years, I've really gotten a chance to see it from the lens of a provider, but also from the lens of a patient and a hospital administrator, since I've been involved in hospital administration over the last couple of years. And so, I recognize, and we recognize at Valeet Healthcare, that we can't solve anyone's problems unless all of the stakeholders, including providers, patients, and healthcare organizations, unless they're like, if each one was a character, they have to all be holding hands and skipping down the pathway together. It's not like one person or one group has one interest and the other one has another interest. I think that those missions and those objectives really have to be aligned. And so we recognize that when physicians are empowered with machine learning algorithms and analytics to help improve their clinical diagnoses, their treatment plans, then they can easily walk into the room and share these like beautiful graphs and visuals with patients. And then their patient satisfaction, patient communication scores are going to be a lot better because they have better tools to do that. Then the patient's going to grasp that information. They're going to be empowered to kind of take care of their own health, put their own health in their own hands, and then they're going to have great health outcomes, and they're going to go back and give really great reviews to that healthcare organization. So again, I think the goals have to be aligned, and I think we really get that at Valeet Healthcare, and I think that that's one thing that will distinguish us from our competitors.
I mean, like I said, when I came across your guys' website, I was like, wow, this is a really dope company, and I love what they're doing, which is why we wanted to talk to you. One of the things that, I'm really interested in getting into, because, it seems like it's a very kind of complex solution to solve, right? In the sense that you're solving it for multiple user personas, if you will, user types, right? So you're coming at it from a doctor's perspective, you're coming at it from a patient's perspective, and you're also coming at it from an administrator perspective. What sort of approach do you take when you're kind of developing a solution for each of those users? Or do you have a formalized solution, or is it just kind of based off of your initial research?
No, we've actually gone out and done, surveyed patients, providers, and also hospital administrators. And so, we've created survey questions and kind of put those surveys out there and gotten the answers back. And I think that having kind of that validation is really important, because even if I had a certain idea and I was just sitting here in my own little bubble without validating anything, it may not really mean much. But I think that putting it out there to get the opinions of other people is important.
Well, I just want to add one thing to that. You're getting a lot of positive feedback within just the community and just across, talking about Valeet Healthcare. When you're interacting with press and they're asking you questions about the company, is there something that hasn't been discussed yet about the future of Valeet that you feel like isn't being captured yet? Or is there some elements that you wish some people within the press will explore, dive deeper when they question you about the company, that you feel like they're missing the mark?
I think that for now, we're focusing on some basic things like kind of the treatment algorithms and decision pathways. But my team and I have also really brainstormed some interesting things once these things are fleshed out. And working, I think there's so many things, I have like a log of all of the different ways that I envision kind of we could engage with patients, they could engage with each other. But I don't think that necessarily is something we need to focus on right now. But I think I'm really excited for kind of the future of medicine and what people will be able to do, because I just think that the possibilities are really endless.
I would agree. I mean, I feel like even just healthcare technology in the U.S. is in its infancy, and we still have the rest of the world to go to get to, right? So, kudos to you on being, somebody who not only had an idea, but actually decided to go ahead and pursue it on top of, being an actual, doctor and working within the hospital. Because I think being able to leverage expertise and marry that with technology is really where, a lot of people are going to be successful. And that's, hopefully what we try to highlight here within Innovative Tribe Outside the Bubble, people who do have, that domain experience and decide to, create a startup or technology to help provide solutions to the problems that they see in their profession day to day.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm definitely very grateful, and I feel fortunate that I happen to have a certain passion, and I live in a certain era of time. I live in a country where I was able to pursue education, follow my dreams, find people who supported me, because I'm very, cognizant of the fact that there are not even just women, but, a lot of children around the world who don't get access to basic things like education. And so I think that in terms of technology, I hope that it will allow us to solve these bigger problems like health, poverty, wellness, and these things, because I think they're very pressing issues in our generation.
Most definitely. And we made it to the final section of our show. We call it the dropping gems, and so this is really key insights that our listeners can take away and apply within their entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
And so the first question for this section is, what top 3 tools would you have recommended to yourself when you first started working on the idea?
That's a great question. So I think that one of the top tools I would recommend would be, it might sound really basic, but I think Twitter is pretty awesome actually for just kind of getting bites of information and snippets of information like in your area of interest and kind of connecting with those people. So I'd say kind of some sort of like social media platform where you can connect with other people in your area of expertise. And then for me, the second thing would be, I've always had like kind of like an art studio where I live, like just kind of like a room where I have like a whole wall that has just canvas and I can just draw and stuff like that. I'm also a painter, but I have, if you come into my little art studio right now, I have like a whole wall with I just kind of go in there and write down my ideas and draw out maps of different things. And so I think that's really helpful for me, because sometimes I'll just go and stare at it and I'll have different ideas or see different connections and relationships. And I'm a very visual person, so that helps me a lot. And then the third thing, I think access to different events in your area of interest. Again, like meetups, going to different conferences, hearing speakers so that you can personally connect with people. I think that's important.
Cool. So, I think you definitely pointed to, a variety of different things that are definitely very helpful. But I was kind of curious, so for example, you mentioned meetups. Is there a specific meetup that, you felt, was very valuable or pivotal for you?
Yeah, I think that there's a New York tech meetup group. And so I think that specifically just tech-related meetups have been really helpful for me. Like I went to some of those that were for people that were interested in iOS coding, and that's where I met my first coder who helped me code out the prototype. And so I think that, again, kind of depending on what your specific needs are, just like talking with people in those groups can really help.
This actually, I feel like you kind of already kind of touched on this a little bit. The next question is, what do you do to keep yourself sane?
That's a good question. Yeah, I have, again, like a really great community of friends and stuff like that here in Brooklyn. And I have a dog that I exercise with a lot. I'm an artist, so I paint and go to different kind of artists' activities, galleries, and shows and that sort of a thing. So I think probably hands down the number one thing that keeps me sane would be exercising and just kind of like staying healthy and staying well balanced, doing things that I enjoy it's important.
Yeah, I need to get back on track with the exercising. Falling off the wagon. The next question. What is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book. I thought, I have like a couple that I've enjoyed, and I'm trying to think of the one that I like the best. I have I had that book, The Business Model Generation, that talks about kind of lean business development strategies, and I think that was kind of helpful because it outlines really the importance of talking with prospective customers and kind of really identifying like the business model before you get too deeply into the ideation part. So that part was important for me.
So the last question is, what is something that you do not want an app to replace?
So actually one of my friends just forwarded me an article about how I think Elon Musk is working on another startup where I think brains will be connected to computers. And I don't know, it's like, I think that there's a lot of cool things in the future of medicine, but to me that sounds a little scary to have brains like connected to machines. I think, I don't know, maybe, I think that sounds a little scary.
Yeah, I saw that pop up on my product hunt, and I was just like,
I'm like, don't sign me up for that. I don't want my brain connected to anyone's phone or anything else for that matter.
Database.
Yeah, there's a good article in the New York Times a few months ago about how, like, I think there's this kind of group of people who think that you should just be connected with yourself and be in tune and just say kind of like whatever's on your mind. But the article is all about how, like, okay, we don't really want to hear what's on your mind. It's like you've got to filter your content a little bit, which I tend to agree with.
Well, we came to the end of the show, though, but we don't want to leave without giving you the opportunity to share with everybody who will want to learn more about your company. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, sure. So feel free. You can message me on Twitter. My handle is Sima Pendharkar, and otherwise my email address is Sima, SIMA, @careconnector.healthcare. And again, we're Valeet Healthcare, and you can also check out our website. And our mission is to really organize data in a way that's usable and actionable for patients, providers, and physicians, really empowering patients.
So definitely connect with Valeet if you're in New York, or just, you have any questions. I don't think she's taken any questions about physical ailments, but if you have any questions about the tech startup or some of the resources that she's mentioned, connect with her on Twitter. Sima, thank you so much for joining us today. There's definitely a lot of good stuff here, and we wish you continued success, and we're looking forward to seeing what you guys have coming up at Valeet Healthcare.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your mission too, and I wish you guys lots of success.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Sure. Thanks so much, guys.